Let's go straight across now to the NATO Secretary-General addressing a press conference ahead of a meeting of the NATO defense ministers in Brussels.
Ministers will review burden sharing across the alliance. I welcome that our latest figures show 7 consecutive years of increased defense spending across Europe and Canada, with $270 billion extra since 2014. And I encourage allies to continue to invest in our shared security. Finally, we will also discuss NATO's next strategic concept, which will be adopted at the Madrid summit in June. I am confident that allies will recommit to our core values and the importance of Europe and North America standing together. And with that, I'm ready to take your questions.
Okay. We'll go to Reuters, up there.
Thank you, Warner. So Russia has said it is returning some troops to their to bases after military exercises were completed. Are you saying then this isn't true, or that you're not seeing any kind of change on the ground? Thank you.
So far, we have not seen any de-escalation on the ground, not seen any signs of reduced Russian military presence on the borders of Ukraine. But we will continue to monitor and to follow closely what Russia is doing. And the signs coming from Moscow about a willingness to continue to engage in diplomatic efforts, that gives some reason for cautious optimism, but we will of course follow very closely what's happening on the ground and whether this is reflected in some real de-escalation of the Russian military build-up in and around Ukraine.
Okay, we'll go to NPR.
Hi, thank you. Terry Schultz with NPR. Second. Hi. Over here. Would it really matter if some of the troops are returning to their garrisons? I mean, this may not be a sign of de-escalation when you have, more than 100 BTGs and more than 100,000 troops. Just to follow up on Robin's question, but additionally, I think Foreign Minister Lavrov said yesterday that Russia had prepared its response to the U.S. and NATO. Have you received any such response? Thank you.
No, we have not received any response from Russia yet. We will welcome a response. We sent them in January our proposals, quite substantive proposals, in parallel the United States and NATO, where we outlined a wide range of issues, topics where we are ready to sit down and look for common ground on arms control, missiles, transparency on military activities and many other areas. And we are ready. We have been ready for a long time, and we remain ready to engage in good faith in dialogue with Russia to find a political solution. Of course, what we have seen on the ground, actually since last spring, is that they are moving forces around, but that doesn't represent a real de-escalation. And we've also seen that sometimes they move into a position with combat-ready troops and a lot of heavy equipment. And then they take out some of, or perhaps even most of the troops, but they leave the equipment behind. And then they can very quickly reinforce and move all the people back, or the troops back again if needed. So the movement of forces, the movement of Russian capabilities doesn't represent real de-escalation. But we will monitor, we will follow what they are doing, and of course we call on them to de-escalate, to withdraw troops, because the Russian military build-up in and around Ukraine is unprecedented, not only with a high number of combat-ready troops, but all the support, all the combat enablers they need to actually conduct a full-fledged invasion of Ukraine. And with all these forces, all these capabilities in place, Russia can conduct an invasion of Ukraine with very little or hardly any warning time at all. So we follow this, but at the same time we believe there is some ground for cautious optimism based on the signs coming from Moscow that they are interested in continuing diplomatic efforts and to sit down with NATO and NATO allies to find a political solution.
Okay, we'll go to Interfax Ukraine.
Thank you, Anna. Interfax Ukraine, Irina Sommer. Secretary-General, 2 questions, if I may. First one, can you please give more details about upcoming meeting with Ukrainian Minister of Defense? In which format it will be, when it will be? What do you expect from Ukrainian side? And second question is, being under a threat of possible war, don't you think that NATO might review Bucharest decision regarding Ukraine? Or in other words, maybe it's easier to give up Ukraine? Thank you.
I look very much forward to the meeting with the Ukrainian Defense Minister, also together with the Defense Minister of Georgia. The 2 defense ministers will meet all 30 NATO defense ministers. This will take place on Thursday, and it is yet another sign of the very close and highly valued partnership we have with Ukraine and the strong support that allies provide to Ukraine. In the meeting, I expect the ministers to once again express their political support to Ukraine, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, and as you know, NATO provides support with the capacity building. We help to modernize Ukraine's defense and security institutions. I expect that to be addressed during the meeting, and we also help with cyber defense. And then, of course, on top of what NATO do together, several NATO allies provide also bilateral support to Ukraine. So the political, the practical support to Ukraine will be addressed in the meeting. Then I think also it will be an opportunity for all of us to take stock. Are there any signs that things are moving in the right direction, or is the military build-up in and around continue, or does it continue? So I think it's a bit early to preempt the exact outcome of that discussion, but it is important that when things are so challenging and when tensions are as high as they are now, it is important that we consult closely with close partners, with Ukraine, and that's exactly what we do. Let me also add that we are in regular contact with Ukrainian leadership in different formats almost all the time. I've spoken several times with President Zelensky, and we continue to be in close contact with the government of Ukraine.
Okay, we'll go to Frankfurt.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, the Bucharest decision stands. NATO strongly believe that all nations have the right to choose their own path, and NATO's door remains open. The enlargement of NATO has been a great success. It helps to spread democracy, freedom, and ensure peace and stability across Europe for decades. So that decision stands.
Okay, we'll go to Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Yeah, gentleman over there with glasses. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Secretary-General, over the past days, France has indicated that it no longer considers or would no longer consider the NATO-Russia Founding Act valid in case of an invasion. Do you expect a discussion on the NATO-Russia Founding Act in that respect during the Defense Ministerial? And do you sense a change among member states which decided after the 2014 annexation of Crimea that they still be bound by this basic act? Thanks a lot.
Russian invasion of Ukraine will be a blatant violation of the NATO-Russia Founding Act. But that has happened before. But NATO allies are still committed to the Founding Act. We believe in the importance of respecting all our international obligations, including the Founding Act, and we have seen before that Russia has violated the Founding Act by invading Ukraine, by using military force against Ukraine and illegally annexing Crimea. But we still believe in the importance of the Founding Act, and I also like to add that we strongly also believe in the dual-track approach, that we need dialogue, we need to talk to Russia, but at the same time we need strength and deterrence and defense, and that remains NATO's position. Yeah.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.